the time he's working in a printer's shop. Then he's in a band playing on the same bill as the Beatles. Then, and ups and downs and fun. And just, but what UK was like in the 60s, I was just too young for that. I left school in 71, playing in a band with thousands of other bands and people going out and seeing bands every night. And you look at these bills for these clubs in London, the Marquee Club, and you look at the bands that were playing in 1970 or something. It's like, my God, you know, it's all these incredibly well-known bands you go and see in the stadium now, all playing in this club for 200 people. So just a lost age.
Let me ask the next little question is, what advice would you give to aspiring authors or new authors? I think you zoomed in on some of the key points a little earlier, yet maybe capitalize that. What would be your advice for new aspiring?
Well, it's the same advice I give entrepreneurs, which is there should be two of you. You see, with the Beermat Entrepreneur, you know, I did not write this book physically. Chris Wes did. It's what he does. He's half of the intellectual model. So I've got to have something which I think will create resonance. That's my job. Then it's got to make sense to him. Then between us, we produce material, because the tyranny of the written page, as you know, as well as everybody, you know, you've got a blank sheet of paper, you've got to start. Chris doesn't worry about that. He writes every day about something, assuming it interests him. Whereas I'm much better at sitting in a pub and interviewing somebody. So double team. Don't worry about I've got to write stuff, because I've done business projects with people where I know a friend of mine who used to be in the company I was in the 80s. He's now big project, or he was big project management for Accenture. We sat in his house and I just talked to him for about 4 hours. We got 50,000 words, which is the size of this. I mean, okay, there's 20,000 good ones, but just getting the stuff, because everything's a story. Tell the story about, well, once upon a time, then this happened, and the result was good or bad. Everybody's got those anecdotes. And what's the learning point? Because the learning point is wear a hat on a Tuesday or something. This is very Beermat. But no, double team.
Okay, double team is a great idea. I love it, because that's what, again, stops people from going, is getting started. Yet if you start out with a collaboration in mind, a project in mind. I've been running experiment groups this whole year, and it's just been fantastic, whether it's a social media experiment, a video experiment, a doodly experiment. I've been really encouraging people to simply enjoy some experiments. So that's been the theme for me this year. Let's move to the next little question, and it's let's visualize into 2021, and if we could get this book that you've just shared with me, which I'm thrilled about it, because it really feels like such a passion project, a pay it forward project. If you could get into someone's hands in the next 6 months that would maybe move it into a whole new millennial, who would it be?
Oh gosh, well, just somebody who is passionate about the 60s.
Who would it be?
Gosh. It'd be one of those rock stars that hasn't got around to reading their book.
Who would it be?
And of course, they're normally approached by somebody who wants money. You know, give me money and I'll write your autobiography. And that's not a great model. It's just somebody who's not an obsessive fan, but would love to do the legwork and go through and get the things. But so just as I'm rather hoping, you know, not one of the Beatles, but you know, somebody that says, could you do the same job for me? That would be just a thrill. Then it's how interesting they are to deal with. But or more somebody that there's a guy I've identified who has a 60s group on Facebook. He does 60s tours in London. So he knows everybody. He has the distribution. So, and everybody goes to him because he's the go-to person. Could you say, you know, how long did Eric Clapton stay in the yard? He'll just know. It's their passion as well. And they have the following online because they produce the stuff that people want. I mean, my big hero in a social media context is a guy called Scott Bradley, who started a thing called Postmodern Jukebox, which I thoroughly recommend to people. It's like modern tunes played in a 20s style, which started with him just playing the piano. It's now a huge enterprise, which has shut down, but then will reopen again. But it's this working out how to get this out there on social media. So it could be somebody who says, yeah, I've got 1 million followers. I mean, I'm not particularly famous. I wasn't in the Beatles or anything. Or it could be, no, I was in the Beatles, you know, and somebody needs to write the proper story and so on. So
since you know that I'm often about the who as part of my wonderful, so I'm going to ask the question a little differently. Who Jim would love the book to get to, and then who would you love to get the book if you could give the book to somebody?
Well, all the people, and this is a nice story about Jim, which is he'd be in the Zombies. You know, they came together again, big band. They're doing big shows. There'd be a knock on the door. And, you know, the famous guys in the band, Colin Blunstone, Rod Argent, might go to the door. Colin always tells this story. He'd go to the door and it'd be, I don't know, Tom Petty or somebody, you know, and it's like, oh hello, Tom Petty. And he's like, excuse me, could you mind? Is Jim here? because they all knew Jim. So what I'm trying to, you see, that's a bad example because Tom's passed away, but there's, you know, the family will anecdotally know that, oh yes, so-and-so came to the concert and all they wanted to do was to talk to Jim, and I'd love to get them the copies. So once we've done the 100 copies and they go out to people, it gets an extra proofread because you're always finding typos, which is always so irritating. You know, you miss something. Then just see what happens with it. I will send it to, you know, a few people I know knew Jim, and Jim was very offhand about it. Oh yeah. We always used to have a chat when we were in Los Angeles, just to see what happens. And then there will be a version on Amazon which anybody can buy. And it'll be nice and cheap because it's, you know, it's not expensive to do it on Amazon now. And again, it's the new model of print on demand. So you don't have to make a lot of copies and then you have them all in your garage, as many people have. It's I don't know where this project's going to go. I'm just hoping that the universe and people like you are going to suddenly, bit strange. I was in a pub yesterday and that happened to be so and so. I went up to them and said, did you ever hear of Jim Rodford? And they're like, oh yeah, great pal. Did you know? Well, let me connect you with Mike Southon. You see, you and I are the same. We always think who, any project, any problem. Other people think how, you know, how exactly would I, you know, how, what kind of paper has it got to be? That's that person. That's one of your foils. That's Chris. Me, I'm thinking, oh, who might be interested.
And Mike, you just covered my next question, because people can get this book on Amazon in the next, I guess, next month or so.
No, it'll be sort of turn of the year, because what's happening, this book is going to the family. Yes. And so Jean, I'm sending a few, but Jean is sending it out to all her family and friends. And I'm relying on that for that last bit of proofreading, because every time somebody looks at it, it's like, oh, there's a missing whatever. Right. You know, this kind of drives you crazy. But anyway, so then, and then just see what happens, because I mean, in the book, I've got, you know, I get to the end of the Mike Cotton sound and just make a list, you know, from Jim's spreadsheet. It seems that he was on the bill with every band I've ever heard of, and some I haven't. The other nice thing about Jim is that when he was not touring with, say, the Kinks, you know, he's there 17 years. So he comes back to St. Albans for a week. He plays in 5 local bands. I've never seen anything like it. Every musician within about 200 miles would call him and say, hey, Jim, do you fancy doing a gig in a pub? And he would, because he loved playing. And, you know, there's some big names in that book. Some of them are going to be a little bit impossible to get to, but somebody will know somebody who, and I'll just hear these old guys telling these extraordinary stories of what happened on the road. Again, some of them you can't print.
Right.
And there's one famous story which I've heard about in about 10 different versions from 10 different musicians about they come back to the boarding house where they are, and there's the landlady, okay, this old landlady with 2 famous musicians, you know, one on each end kind of thing. And, you know, I've heard it about, you know, Jimi Hendrix and, I don't know, Buddy Holly. And she just looks up because and says, oh, you must think I'm such a flirt. Now, this probably never happened, but I heard it, you know, it was not about Jim, but it was when we were in the Mike Cotton sound, we came back and the landlady said, I heard it from 2 different members of the band from 2 different places. So you've got to be a little bit careful here because you don't want to offend anybody. And also, you know, you speak to people from Liverpool about the Beatles, you'll get 5 versions of events from 3 people about what happened when Pete left the band and all of that. So there we go. But yeah, who?
Thank you so much for your time today. As I bring it to a little bit of a close, I'm asking this question from this year, 2020. What has been something that you've read or something that you've seen that has really shifted some of your mindset?
Oh, this book. I read it again. Well, 2 books actually. I'm going to be 2 for the price of 1. Which is obviously what happened with lockdown was we're suddenly all at home thinking about the meaning of life. Now, there's that Chinese saying, I think it's not even Chinese, may you live in interesting times, which either a blessing or a curse, depending on whether you're pessimistic or optimistic. But you just think about yourself, you focus in, and then think, well, I'll catch up on my learning. And the 2 books, which from an esoteric and hermetic point of view, and there's this book here, which is The Secret History of the World, written by my friend Jonathan Black, I got to know him, which is from the beginning of time to the end of time, all that stuff, very, very accurate, because I've been initiated into a few things. He hasn't, but absolutely fascinating book about these. It's hard going. And then you can go for the deluxe version, which I've got here, which is the illustrated version, you know, which is even better. And then as I told you in the thing before, I went on a little visit on my own to Jerusalem. Easily the most interesting place on earth from a spiritual point of view. I mean, 3 huge religions, Jewish, Muslim, Christian, plus the Armenians, so a bit of everything. And this book, written by Simon Sebag Montefiore, who lived there and so on, it's the history of Jerusalem from, it's been conquered hundreds of times and changed hands. You go there and the place crackles with electricity. So what I'm doing with these 2 is, once I'm allowed to travel again, then I just start going to places. I remember going with you to Bali. I don't know, Bali, very spiritual place. And I got some weird insights. I mean, we all did at the time about Bali, because it's such a weird spiritual place. I've got my bucket list of, I must go to Prague, I must go to Berlin, go to Munich, and various places which have an esoteric Rosicrucian or Martinist connection, just to see what occurs to you. And you learn a bit more about yourself. So that's been my reading. I've been going through these books again, thinking I must go to, because now I can't go to. So the other thing is get on a plane. And I mean, I've been to places where I thought this will be good, and there was nothing there for me, but for you, you might have got something.
Right.
And you're very good on this stuff. I know you might say go to a certain place. I mean, you can't guarantee anything. I took somebody around Westminster Abbey some time ago, so before lockdown, good friend of mine, and she was literally seeing people. It was extremely interesting. Right. Real people.
Yes.
In certain places.
Yes.
And the best thing from a Beatles context was I took her to the place where John met Yoko. It's a little art gallery, and everybody knows it's there. And she said, here, this is where John was walking out, and Yoko ran out and said, no, wait. Literally, this physical is that. Who knows if it's true? I like to think it is. Hmm. And when I take people there, I say, my friend tells me, I don't know, right. It was, he had left, he had seen these things, oh, this is a bit stupid, whatever, left. She ran out, and that was the point, literally the point, that mystical place, because you and I have been to mystical places like Tanalot and in Bali, it's just extraordinary. And you learn about yourself. You don't learn about anything else. There's no correct answer to anything, I've noticed. Just
the energetic charges. Yes, the cellular memories, the breath, the pop. It really is part of our own personal mystery, and it's part of our own personal DNA. And there is some wonderful ways to experience that. And I hope I actually have an opportunity to see you again in the coming year, and perhaps we'll meet in one of these places. I have a feeling no matter where we meet, we'll have some mystical conversations and some delightful laughs. So thank you so much for your time today, Mike. It's great to see with you. Congratulations on this new book of passion and paying it forward. It sounds wonderful, and I look forward to getting a copy when it's available on Amazon. Thanks so much.
I'll get you one of the. I'll ask the family to get you one of the pre-advanced copies. So send me an email so I know where to send this film, and also a postal address. And I'll ask Jean, is it okay if I send one to my friend Dave? Because it's this thing about when you pick it up and hold it. Like, I mean, this is a lovely book. And this is, even lovelier. It's a big book. It's that physical, but these are, it's a regular book. When you literally have this in your hands, you get it. And the look on Jean's face when I literally said it was a proof copy, there you go. And and all the family, I've been making them all cry, but in a nice way.
The tears of joy, the tears of healing, the tears of delight. It's like if you ever get a chance to look at the sun and you've got some tears and you see the rainbows that come through the eyelashes. That's what you did for them. You allowed their heart to sing. And just congratulations, Mike. It's just so beautiful that you've done that. And I can really resonate with that energy, and I really appreciate you sharing the story. And hopefully today, someone who sees this will be inspired to put some words to paper, to do some great interviews, to share the legacy of their parents, their grandparents, friends. And so I believe it's really a fantastic process that you're shared today. And I'm tickled pink that you were able to tap into something that you've been working on for decades, and it's taken a whole new beautiful magnification and even a deeper understanding and awareness. So congratulations.